First of all, we're going to practice multiplying. So you can either use the distributive / FOIL method, or you can use the Punnett square. I'm just going to use the FOIL method. So we have x times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. 5 times x is 5x. And 5 times 4 is 20. So then we combine our two middle terms. So we're going to have x squared plus 4x plus 5x is 9x, and then plus 20. Over here on problem 2, you have x squared. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Negative 6 times negative 3 is positive 18. Same signs add and keep. So x squared minus 9x plus 18. Number 3, x times x is x squared. X times negative 1 is negative x. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. So we have x squared. Same signs add and keep. Different signs subtract. 1 from 5. Take the sign of the higher. Higher number's 5 is positive. Then you'll be exact. Minus 5. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to practice thinking skills. So what we're going to do, you see you have two numbers given, a 5 and a 4. And what we have to do is come up with a sum, which means to add, and the product, which means to multiply. So 5 plus 4, so sum means to add, that will give us 9. The product means to multiply, so that will give us 20. Negative 6 times negative 3 is 18. Negative 6 plus negative 3 is negative 9. Now then, we get to this next one, and we notice that one number is given and the product. So what we have to do is find the second number. So 4 times what is 32, or you could take 32 divided by 4. That will give you 8. And then the sum of 4 and 8 would be 12. Same thing here, except instead of the first number given, second number given. Still the same process. So 12 divided by negative 2 would be negative 6. And negative 6 plus negative 2 is negative 8. Same scenario. Negative 35 divided by negative 7 is positive 5. Negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. Now then, for the rest of these, none of the numbers are given except for the sum and the product. So you have to think, what two numbers add up to 10, but also multiply to give you 24? Well, off the top of my head, I automatically realize it's 4 and 6, because 4 times 6 is 24 and 4 plus 6 is 10. Now then, on this one, notice you have a negative 11, but 30 is positive. So that means a negative times a negative will give you a positive, and a negative plus a negative will stay a negative. So you have to think of numbers like negative 5 and negative 6. Add up to give you negative 11, and negative 5 times negative 6 is positive 30. Now then, here you have a negative 56. That means one has to be a plus sign and one has to be a minus sign. The bigger number is going to be your minus sign because this sum is a negative 1. So I'm going to put the 8 with the negative and the 7 with the positive. And this really tests you whether you know your multiplication facts or not. All right, the next one, 80 is positive and the sum is negative. So that means they're both going to have to be negative. And let's see if I can, 10 and 8, that's right. So negative 10 and negative 8 add up to give you negative 18, and when you multiply it gives you positive 80. All right, and then on this one, you have a positive 6 and a positive 5. So that means both numbers are going to be positive. Okay, so both will be positive. And factors of 6 that add up to 5 would be 2 and 3. So anyways, that's just a little practice for what we're fixing to get into. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice factoring. So instead of doing the multiplication, you were given two factors and we had to multiply. Now you're going to be given the trinomial, or in other words, the area of a rectangle, and you have to find the two dimensions, the length and the width. So the possible signs are all right in here. You can refer back to them. So I'd really like for you to memorize this. I think it would be helpful. Just another tool to have in your back pocket for later on. So here it says when you undo the distributive factoring, you are distributing, you are basically factoring. So figure out what two binomials multiply, the FOIL method, to make the trinomials. You have to make sure the signs work. So in this case, we were just practicing this. You need factors of 24 that when you multiply them, add up to 10. So it says focus on the last term. What numbers multiply to be 24 but adds up to be 10? So you have factors of 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6 to give you 10. So we know that it's going to be, they're both, if you notice, both of these are positive right here. So when you go up here to this box, positive, they're both going to be positive inside the parentheses. So we're going to have an x plus and an x plus, and the two factors that multiply to give you 24 but add up to 10 are 4 and 6. So there you go. And if you can't think of any factors, go to y equals and put 24 divided by x and then check the table. So remember in our calculator, it would be f of x equals 24 divided by x. All right, let's take a look at number 5. So we see one's a minus, one's a plus. So that would be this one right here. So we're going to have x minus and another x minus. So we need factors of 30 that add up to 11. So if you think of factors of 30, there's 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. But we want them, since the signs are the same, we want them to add up to 11. So it's going to be your 5 and 6. There you go. Those are your lengths and your widths. Let's look at number 6. Now, if you have a minus and a minus, so right here is this one. One's going to be minus, one's going to be plus. So we need factors of 6, 1 and 6, 2 and 3, that when you subtract will give you the negative 5. So remember, the signs are different here. So 2 and 3 would add up to be 5, but we want them to subtract. 1 and 6, when you subtract 1 from 6, you get 5. Now then, we need our 6 to be the negative, because your middle term is a negative. So there you go. So that's what you're going to be doing today. I went ahead and carried this table over the possible signs so that you could be working the back side. So on number 7, we need factors of 35. So we've got 1 and 35 and 5 and 7, I believe. So if this is a minus and that's a plus, they're both going to be minus, because a negative times a negative is a positive. And there you go, 5 and 7. That will work. 5 plus 7 gives you 12. Number 8, factors of 40. Sometimes it's good to write these factors down because you may use them later on in another problem. So we've got 2 and 20, we've got 4 and 10, and we've got 5 and 8. Now then, the important thing is to get your signs right. Since both of them are plus, they're both going to be plus inside. So we need them to add up to 13, which will be the 5 and the 8. All right, number 9. We've got factors of 24. So we've got 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. This will be an n, and again, this is the same thing. Both of them will be minus signs. So we want them to add up to 25, which will be 1 and 24. Number 10, factors of 8. We've got 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. You have to get your signs right. These are going to be different signs because this 8 is a negative, and a positive times a negative is a negative. So the signs have to be different. So we need factors of 8. When you subtract, give you 2. So the 2 will be negative and the 4 will be positive because your middle term is a positive. Number 11, factors of 18. So 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. And both of those are minus. So one's going to be minus and one's going to be plus. So we need the difference to give them 7. Well, that would be the 2 and the 9. The 9 would have to be the negative because your middle term is a negative 7. Number 12. See, this is one reason why I said write down your factors because you might need to use them again. So we need factors of 24 to give you 5. And since one's a plus, this last term is a minus. That means the signs have to be different, x minus and x plus. So we need the difference to give us 5. So that would be, if you look here, right there, the 3 and the 8. The 8 would have to be plus because the 5 in the middle term, as the middle term, is a positive. So that's 8 and 3. And oh, that's it. I thought maybe there were 2 more problems. Okay, so this really tests your multiplication. So if you don't have your multiplication facts down, might be a good idea to be working on those. See you later.